Hi everyone, this is Amy Clark Smith, Clark Smith Adventures. Off for another adventure. I just got home from work. I wanted to talk about something tonight. It is about pros and cons of living in Maryland. If anyone is thinking about moving to Maryland, here are some of the pros, some of the cons. Okay, sorry, I'm smoking. I'm going to start out with some of the cons. Cough attack, sorry. So here are some of the cons of living in Maryland. I've lived in Maryland for a long time, and I am literally just so sick of living in Maryland. I think it's just because I've lived here for so long. One of the biggest cons that I have with Maryland is, number one, it is the weather. The weather is definitely bipolar in Maryland. It never knows what it wants to do. Does it want to rain? Does it want to snow? Does it want to be hot? Does it want to be cold? The weather sucks in Maryland. We also have like weather extremes. Like when it rains, it rains. Like it just doesn't rain. It's just like it effing rains its ass off. This winter has been kind of mild. When it snows, usually we get like a blizzard, or we don't get anything. Like it will snow like an inch. So yeah, the weather is definitely my number one problem that I have with Maryland. Number one problem. I wanted to start with the cons because I wanted to end this on a good note. For those that are thinking about moving to Maryland. But weather sucks here. I think it's called sundown syndrome, and where I get depressed, and sometimes in Maryland it just stays cold for long periods of time, or it'll just be crappy weather for long periods of time, and I'm literally ready to move to Florida. I'm ready to move to Florida, Texas. I want 10 months of summer. I want 2 months of spring and a week of winter. Like that's what I want. I want like 10 months of summer. I want to literally wear wife beaters almost all year long. Like wife beaters and yoga pants almost all year long. And you can't here in Maryland. Because sometimes it's so cold, it's windy. It also depends on where you're at in Maryland. I lived near Baltimore, and a lot of times we wouldn't really get a lot of snow because of the water being off, the Chesapeake Bay, and the ocean is there. So we wouldn't get a lot of snow. But now I live in Hagerstown, and it is mountains. And, I lived in Frederick before, and it was like in a valley. And so we sometimes get a lot of snow. It sucks. I hate snow. People are like, oh my God, it's gonna snow. It's so pretty. Ugh. I fucking don't ever care if I ever see snow again. If you're into snow, then that's cool. Thank God this winter was a good winter, but I remember a couple winters ago here in Maryland, it snowed almost every day for months. I'm like, are we living in Maryland or are we in Canada? Are we in Maryland or is this Anchorage, Alaska? Like, it was ridiculous. We got more snow here than my brother did in Michigan. Another con that I have for Maryland is it's crowded. It's very crowded. Traffic is bad. It doesn't matter where you live in Maryland. Maryland is not a big state. Over on the other side, like the western side of Maryland, there's not a lot of traffic, because it's more country, it's more rural. But like near the cities like Baltimore, near DC, it is a lot of traffic and it will drive you insane. It's not as much traffic as some other major cities, but traffic here is terrible. It literally takes me an hour and a half to get to work, and I work 38 miles away. I remember I lived in Montgomery County, Maryland. Ugh, I hated it. I worked 12 miles from my house, and it took me an hour and a half almost every day. So the traffic here just sucks. It sucks. Another thing I hate about Maryland, another con, people are rude. People are rude here in Maryland. I've come across a lot of rude people. I don't know if it's because we're near a lot of major metropolitan cities, DC, you have Baltimore, but people can be rude here. They could be kind of like stuck up and on the go, and drivers, people don't know how to drive in Maryland. Maryland is full of lane changers. That's all they do, is they change lanes. You could tell there's a Maryland driver because they'll change lanes. Other states, they'll just change a lane, and no, but Maryland, they have to be in and out of traffic, in and out, because it's like I guess Maryland drivers feel like they're going to get to where they need to go faster if they keep doing that. I don't know, but I don't know how many times I've passed somebody and they done change lanes, and I'm like, I passed you, sucker. Another thing, the last con I would say about Maryland, that's a con, is Maryland is a trap because it's so expensive. It's so expensive because, you're near DC, you're near the nation's capital, you're near Baltimore, shit is expensive. Taxes are expensive. Cost of living is expensive. Housing is expensive in Maryland. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment. If we could buy a house, we would. We cannot afford a house. We can't, living in Maryland. That's another reason why I want to move out of state. I've wanted to move out of state for 20 years now. But my fiance now, won't move because his job's here, his daughter's here, and I understand that. But it's like, I'm done with Maryland. I'm done. I've been done. I should have moved out a long time ago, but if I did, I would never have gotten with my man. So it's kind of like a good thing that I am here, but it's expensive as shit to live here. Everything's expensive. Parking in a parking garage, I spent like $25 for like 4 hours. Like, it was expensive as shit. Housing, rent. My mother literally pays $1,600 a month in rent, and she lives in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and it's probably like 1,000 square feet, but it's like, why? I don't understand why it's so damn expensive. And it's crowded. There's a lot of people everywhere you go. It's like you can't sometimes, like now that I'm older, I'm more like laid back, and I just want to like get to where I need to go and be done with it. Or I just want to, do this and be done with it. Like, it's everywhere you go, the grocery store, the line for the prescription, the movie theater, like restaurant, like everything is so expensive, and it's so crowded. So that's Maryland, because it's a condensed, small state. People can't drive here. Come to Maryland, you'll see people cannot drive, and y'all can argue with me. People cannot freaking drive in Maryland. Maryland drivers are horrible. You'll see. You'll see. Okay, now let's talk about the pros of living in Maryland. Let's talk about the pros. One of the biggest pros is it's very cultured. It's very cultured. Like I lived in Baltimore for years. You know, it's very like, we're all about our sports teams and everyone has camaraderie and everyone, you know what I mean? And like people get involved and it's cultured. And there's a lot of culture, there's a lot of museums and there's a lot of things to do in Maryland. There's a lot, you know, you have the beach, you have the mountains, you have the countryside, you have the city. Like Maryland has everything. That's definitely one of the the pros that I like about Maryland is that Maryland has everything. You know, it has a little bit of everything. Since it is a small state, you know, you have there's a lot to do in Maryland. And if you can't find something to do in Maryland, you're not looking very hard for one. But the good thing is Virginia is like right there. West Virginia, right there. Delaware, right there. DC, right there. Pennsylvania, right there. So, you know, there's a lot around here. You know, there's like a lot to do with like sports teams, Redskins, Ravens, Baltimore Orioles, the Washington Nationals. You know, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of like concerts and events going on all the time. There's a lot of nightclubs. There's a lot of restaurants. Like where I used to live in Frederick, Maryland, it's very like there's a lot of antique shops and there's, you know, really cool little stores and there's restaurants. And so there's always a lot of things to do in Maryland. It is a very expensive state to live in. So you might not have a lot of money, to do those things, but you will always find something to do. There's trails, bike trails, and just things to do. There's the zoo. There is all kinds of crap. Another pro about Maryland is there's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of jobs. There's a lot of IT jobs, a lot of healthcare jobs. There's a lot of restaurant jobs. There's a lot of hospitality, animal related jobs. One thing about Maryland, there's a lot of caring people that really genuinely care about animals. If you go down south, you'll see a lot of dogs chained up that are fly-bitten ears and they have heartworm. In Maryland, a lot of people treat their animals better than they would treat their children. You know, there's a lot of activities as far as rescue organizations when it comes to animals, because we are so close to a major cities. I don't know what else. I did forget one thing about a con. One of the things I don't like about Maryland is you got to be careful because it's so condensely populated. And the cities, like Baltimore has like probably 700,000 people. DC about that number too, probably. I don't know. I'm not a geologist or whatever the hell. But there's a lot of crime. So you have to lock your doors. You have to lock your car. You have to watch out. I lived in Baltimore, and people were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you lived in Baltimore, Amy." You know, is it like really like on The Wire? That show The Wire? Yeah, kinda. Yeah. But you have to know where to go. You can't be an idiot. You can't be stupid. You can't just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go in this neighborhood." No. There's people from Baltimore that are like, "I ain't going in that neighborhood. You're crazy." So there is a lot of crime in Baltimore. Maryland, certain cities have less crime, but I mean, there's a lot of crime in Maryland, period. So that's something you need to watch out for if you do decide to move to Maryland. Another pro, let's get back to the pros, is the education system here is really good. There's a lot of good schools, unless you're in like a crappy county. I don't really want to say it like that, but there's certain areas in Maryland that the school systems are horrible. But for the most part, most of Maryland has really good education programs. Lots of colleges. I mean, you have University of Maryland, you have Frostburg, Salisbury, you have UMBC, Towson, where I went. I went to Towson. You have Goucher, Johns Hopkins, Morgan. So, you know, there's a lot of education. You have Loyola. I'm trying to think of other schools. Hood College. There's a lot of good education in Maryland. So, that's a pro. That's definitely a pro. Let's go back to the cons, shall we? Another con, I shall say, is there's racism. It being so close to D.C., you know, people are like, yeah, Barack Obama's president. Well, he was, but there's still a lot of racism in Maryland. I mean, you go to some of these small bohick city, like towns in Maryland, and it's race. Like, I think the leader of the Ku Klux Klan lives in Rising Sun, Maryland, and that's in Harford County or Cecil County, one of them. But I mean, there's racism in Maryland, so you have to be careful of that. But a pro is there's a lot of culture and diversity also. Lots of diversity. Which I love, because, you know, it's like I love seeing people from different countries, and there's different cultures and ethnicities and different like types of restaurants with different foods. Like there's Guatemalan food, and there's Ecuadorian, and there's, you know, Thai, Venezuelan food, arepas, Chinese food. There's all kinds of different Indian cuisine. There's all types of different restaurants, you know, and different ethnicities and foods and people. So that's what I like. I like a lot of, you know, ethnicities and stuff like that. Lord, when it snows here, everything shuts down. They shut down everything because people are scared to death. In Maryland, they can't drive worth shit. One of my favorite things about Maryland, Baltimore crabs, baby. Chesapeake Bay blue crabs. Old Bay seasoning. Love it. Beaches. There's beaches. There's water. But Maryland only really sees 3 months of summer. And then it's fall. And when it's fall, it becomes fall. Like you can't swim. Like it's not like 80 degrees. You know, it's like 60. Sometimes in Maryland, though, we will have what's called Indian summer. I don't know why they call it that, but it'll be like October, and it'll be like 85, but only for like a day or so. And then it'll get cold again. Temperatures seem to fluctuate like it could be like 30 one day, 75 the next day, 40 one day, 65 the next day. Like it never is consistent. Clark Smith Adventures. I Gotta go. Gotta go walk my dogs. Gotta go make myself some dinner. My man won't be home till late. Stay tuned. More videos are coming. Mwah. I love you all. Watch my videos. Subscribe. Comment. Like. Share. You liking, subscribing helps support my channel. I do appreciate each and every one of you. I do appreciate all of you. I love you. And I will talk to you later. Bye.